Dear learners, we have been learning about different parts of speech in the previous episodes. Today, we shall learn about the most important part, verb. A language is mainly dependent upon the verb. Each sentence in a language is written in a tense. The tense of a sentence is identified by its verb. So, the verb is the heart of a sentence. The entire study of English grammar is based on the verb. We shall learn the different uses of the verb in details in the coming episodes. In this episode, we shall discuss only an outline of the verb. A verb is the part of a sentence that tells us what the subject performs. It may be a word or a combination of words that indicates an action or a state of being or a condition. The word verb derived from the Latin word verbum, which means word. Different scholars divide the verb in different manners. After a long research and studies, I am taking my learners to the following categories of verb. The verb can be categorized as types of verb, forms of verb, kinds of verb, divisions of verb. Types of verb are again divided into two: main verb and auxiliary verb. Forms of verb are divided into four: present form, past participle form, and present participle form. Kinds of verbs are finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Division of verb are transitive verb and intransitive verb. Let us discuss the types of verb first. Types of verb include main verb and auxiliary verb. The auxiliary verbs such as be forms and have forms act as main verbs when there is not any action mentioned in the sentence. In other words, if the sentence shows any state of being without any action, be forms and have forms become main verbs. All four forms of verbs are treated as main verbs. Auxiliary verbs include be forms, do forms, have forms, and modals. Let us understand them one by one with examples. The auxiliary verbs of be forms and have forms act as both the main verbs and helping verbs in English language. State of being or linking verbs. When the auxiliary verbs are used as the state of being, there are no action verbs in the sentence. The sentence will be a statement. They act as a linking verb between the subject and noun or adjective of a sentence. Be forms: am, is, are, was, were, be, being, and been are the auxiliary verbs in the be family. They are treated as main verbs when they are not accompanied by any action verbs but acting as a link between the subject and noun or adjective of a sentence. Let me explain it with some examples. I am a teacher. Martin is my student. We are his friends. Here, am, is, are the auxiliary verbs acting as the links between subjects and nouns or adjectives. They are in present tense. They are acting as the main verbs of these sentences. Am links I with a teacher. Is links Martin with my student. Are links we with his friends. My uncle was a professor. They were the real culprits. Here, was and were belong to past tense. Was links my uncle with a professor. Were links they with the real culprits. They are not followed by any action verbs. Hence, was and were are acting as the main verbs of these sentences. We will be the first again in the next board examination. Being a human, I too have some feelings. He has been in Mumbai for 2 years. Here, be, being, and been are not supporting any action words and standing independently. They are the linking verbs between the subjects and nouns or adjectives of the given sentences. Have forms. Has, have, and had are the have forms. When they stand independently without supporting any action verbs, they are treated as the main verbs. For example, Ravish Kumar has a reputation in the world of media. Our children have everything they need. They had an honest maidservant. All these sentences are state of being something. The verbs has, have and had are not the helping verbs here, as they are not followed by any action words. They stand as the linking verbs between the subjects and the nouns or adjectives. Hence, they are the main verbs of these sentences. As we have seen earlier, there are 4 forms of verbs for all the 12 active voices and 8 passive voices. They are present form, past participle form, and present participle form. The process of changing the base form of a verb into its 4 forms are known as conjugation. The learners should not mix the words present or past with any tenses. These forms are not categorized into tenses, but forms of verbs only. All these forms are repeatedly used in different tenses. With the help of different auxiliary verbs, we determine the tense of the verbs. That is why the auxiliary verbs are known as helping verbs. Let us conjugate different base forms of verbs to know about them. Base forms of verbs are also known as verb roots: present, past participle, and present participle. Do, did, done, doing. Take, took, taken, taking. Come, came, come, coming. Bring, brought, bringing. Save, saved, saving. Walk, walked, walking. There are thousands of verbs which are known as regular verbs and irregular verbs. We shall learn about them in detail in the forthcoming episodes. In present indefinite tense or simple present tense, the present form of the verb is used without any auxiliary or helping verbs in affirmative sentences. In past indefinite tense or simple past tense, the past form of verb is used without any auxiliary verbs in affirmative sentences. Apart from this, there will be one or another auxiliary verb based as a helping verb in all kinds of sentences of 12 active voices and 8 passive voices. Such auxiliary verb will be from the families of be, do, have, and modals according to their tenses. Let us have examples using the above mentioned 6 base forms of verbs. What does your brother do during the lockdown period? Here, does is the helping verb of the main verb do. It is the present form of the verb. My grandmother takes no medicine for BP. Here, there is not any auxiliary verb. Takes is the main verb. It is the present form of verb. Geetanjali always came first in the test. There is not any auxiliary verb in this sentence. Came is the main verb. It is the past form of the verb come. Rajesh did not bring any assistant this time. Here, did is the helping verb of the main verb bring. It is the present form of the verb. Amit has saved all the data he entered. Here, has is the helping verb of the main verb saved. It is the past participle form of verb saved. We were walking along the roadside. Here, were is the auxiliary verb of the main verb walking. It is the present participle form of walk. We shall learn more about all the 4 forms of verbs when we have detailed study of tenses. Action verbs. There are 2 types of action verbs: physical action and mental action. Let us see what physical action verbs are. Physical action verbs describe specific physical actions. If you can create a motion with your body or use a tool to complete an action, the word you use to describe it is most likely a physical action verb. For example, Reno sat in his chair. The dog breathed quickly after it chased its ball. Should we vote in the election? Let us run to the corner and back. I hear the train coming. Call me when your balance is finished. Even when the action isn't very active, if the action is done by the body or a tool, consider it a physical verb. Mental action verb. Let us see what mental action verbs are. Mental verbs are related to concepts such as discovering, understanding, thinking, planning, experiencing, or sensing. For examples, I know the answer. She recognized me from across the room. Do you believe everything that people tell you? Here, all the three verbs know, recognized, and believe are action words, but they have not any physical actions. They have mental actions. Let us go through all the auxiliary verbs in detail. Be forms. We have seen how all the be forms act as the main verbs. Now, let us know how they are acting as the auxiliary verbs. I am teaching in Miss Permission School. Here, am is the helping verb of the main verb teaching. My friend is scolded for his mischievous actions. Here, is the auxiliary verb of the main verb scolded. They are not being invited for the function this time. Here, are and being are the helping verbs of the main verb invited. His financial help was taken for this program. Here, was is the auxiliary verb of the main verb taken. They were waiting for the bus in the terminal. Here, where is the helping verb of the main verb waiting. Be blessed all the time. Here, be is the auxiliary verb of the main verb blessed. They have been feeding the stray animals for 6 months. Here, have and been are the helping verbs of the main verb feeding. Do forms. The auxiliary verbs do, does, and did are used in simple present and simple past tenses. The main verbs followed by these helping verbs will always be the present form of verb. Let us see some examples. When does Martin go for morning walk? Here, does is the helping verb of the main verb go. You do not respond to my messages in time. Here, do is the auxiliary verb of the main verb respond. Did he allow you to take leave for 2 days? Here, did is the auxiliary verb of the main verb allow. Have forms. We have seen how all the have forms act as the main verbs. Now, let us know how they are acting as the auxiliary verbs. Ritish has suggested not to take any risk. Here, has is the helping verb of suggested. The strangers have been disallowed to enter the hall. Here, have and been are the auxiliary verbs of the main verb disallowed. That boy had finished his homework. Here, had is the helping verb of the main verb finished. Modal auxiliary verbs. A modal verb is a kind of an auxiliary verb. It assists the main verb to indicate possibility, potentiality, ability, permission, expectation, and obligation. The modal verbs are can, could, must, may, might, ought to, shall, should, will, and would. For examples, an eagle can fly at a speed of 60 km per hour. Here, can is the auxiliary verb of fly, the main verb. The rescue team could not help the man to come out of the water. Here, could is the modal verb helping the main verb help. You must learn how to respect the elders. Here, must is the modal verb helping the main verb learn. I may want to talk to you again. Here, may is the modal verb helping the main verb want. He might be ready to help you. Here, might is the modal verb helping the main verb be. We ought to bow down when the bell rings. Here, ought to is the modal verb helping the main verb bow. He should call him. Here, should is the modal verb helping the main verb call. I'll go there. Here, will is the modal verb helping the main verb go. Naman would join the party if he was invited. Here, would is the modal verb helping the main verb join. Now, let us discuss kinds of verb. There are two kinds of verb, finite verb and non-finite verb. Three kinds of finite verbs are there. Auxiliary verbs, present form of verb, past form of verb. Finite verbs. Let us see what finite verbs are. A finite verb is the verb in a sentence that has an agreement with the subject. It is bounded by the tense, person, or number of the subject in the sentence. The word finite means limited. In Hindi, Seemith. In Malayalam, Parimitham. The use of a finite verb is limited to have a specific tense, person, or a number. The finite verbs always change their forms as it is used in different tenses. Different tenses have different types of finite verbs. In simple present tense and simple past tense, the main verb is the finite verb. For example, the reporter brings good news. As we know, in simple present tense, the present form or base form of verb is used. Here, brings is the main verb used in simple present tense and it agrees with the subject reporter. It is also limited to the person of the subject. The subject reporter is third person. It is also limited to its number. The number of the subject is singular or an sound is added with the verb root. In short, the verb brings agrees with the subject, tense, person or number. Now, let us examine the same verb with another subject. The reporters bring good news. Here, the form of verb has been changed when the subject is changed. Brings changed into bring when the number of the subject changed. As we know, in simple present tense, if the subject is plural, the base form of the verb is used as the main verb. Here, reporters is a plural subject, so the verb bring agrees with it. The subject is third person and the finite verb bring is limited with it. The number of the subject reporters is plural, so the verb bring is limited to it. Now, let us see the same sentence in simple past tense. The reporter brought good news. The verb bring has changed its form when it is used in simple past tense. The past form of the verb is the same with all kinds of persons, numbers, and subjects. We have seen the finite verbs in their present and past forms. Now let us see how the auxiliary verbs become the finite verb. First of all, we see be forms. Look at these sentences. I am a teacher. He is intelligent. These children are naughty. In these sentences, the be forms am, is, and are the main verbs. They are finite to their tense, subject, number, or persons. They are in simple present tense. The finite verb am agrees with the subject I, first person I, and singular I. The finite verb is agrees with the subject he, third person he, and the number is singular pronoun. The finite verb are agrees with the subject children, third person children, and its number is plural. In the same manner, was and were act as finite verbs in simple past tense also. For example, Mohan was a teacher. The children were close friends. Let us see how these verbs are acting as auxiliary verbs in these sentences. I am teaching in Miss Permission School. Ravil is doing a job in Mumbai. The children are playing on the ground. These sentences are in present continuous tense. In all these sentences, the verbs are compound verbs or phrasal verbs. Am teaching, is doing, and are playing are standing together as the verbs of these sentences. The first auxiliary verb of a phrasal verb is the finite verb of a sentence because the finite verbs am, is, and are agree with their subjects I, Ravil, and the children. They are in different forms as per the person and number of the subjects. The verbs teaching, doing, and playing are the main verbs in these sentences, but they are non-finite verbs because they do not determine any tense, person, or number. They are used commonly with any sentence of any tense. Look at these sentences in past continuous tense. Manoj was throwing stones at a stray dog. We were watching a film last night. Here, was and were are the finite verbs and throwing and watching are the non-finite verbs. They will be coming with you. We shall be asking them tough questions. Here, will be coming and shall be asking are the phrasal verbs. The first auxiliary verbs will and shall are finite verbs and others are non-finite verbs. You have taken your part in right time. They had arrived at the station on time. Here, have taken and had arrived are the phrasal verbs. Have and had are the finite verbs, and taken and arrived are non-finite verbs. I have been teaching in Miss Permission School for 20 years. They had been scolded by their leader. Here, have been teaching and had been scolded are phrasal verbs. The finite verbs are have and had. Been teaching and been scolded are non-finite verbs. In short, apart from present participle form of verb and the past participle form of verb, all other verbs and auxiliary verbs are finite verbs if they determine the tense, person, or number of the subject in a sentence. Let us study about non-finite verbs. A non-finite verb is a verb form that does not show any tense. In other words, you cannot tell if a sentence is in the past tense, present tense, or future tense by looking at a non-finite verb. Non-finite verbs are not bound by tense, person, or number. There are three types of non-finite verbs: infinitives, gerunds, and participles. Infinitives. An infinitive is a verb form often preceded by to that can function as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. For example, to win is the phrase form used in three different sentences. To win was everything. Here, the infinitive to win is functioning as a noun, being the subject of the sentence. It is the competition to win. Here, the infinitive to win is functioning as an adjective, modifying the noun competition. The man paid to win. Here, the infinitive to win is functioning as an adverb. It modifies the verb paid. Let us see a few more examples. She needed to find a lot of money quickly. Here, the infinitive to find is used as a noun. Needed is the finite verb. I showed her the best way to make a craft work. Here, the infinitive to make is used as an adjective of way. He set the camera to film whatever was being eaten. Here, the infinitive to film is being used as an adverb of set. Not all infinitives are preceded by to. The modal auxiliary verbs could, may, should, would, and let are having bare infinitives without to. He would keep the social distance. Let them eat cake. Here, the non-finite verbs keep and eat are infinitives not preceded by to. Let us see what a gerund is. A gerund is a noun formed from a verb. In other words, a gerund is a verbal noun. All gerunds have an ing. Discovery consists of seeing what nobody has seen yet. Here, seeing is the gerund acts as a noun. I have never taken any exercise except sleeping and resting. Here, sleeping and resting are gerunds acting as nouns. Gerunds maintain some verb-like properties also. They can take objects and be modified by adverbs. Art is making something out of nothing and selling it. Here, making and selling are gerunds, but they have verb-like properties. Something and it are the objects of making and selling respectively. I started by photographing birds in my garden. Here, photographing is the gerund acting like a verb with birds as object. The third type of non-finite verb is participle. There are two types of participles: present participle and past participle. Non-finite verbs function as nouns, adjectives, or adverbs in a sentence. They also are combined with a finite verb or verb tense. Present participle. Present participle is formed by adding ing to the verb root. Let us see how the non-finite verb present participle acts on different occasions. In all the three continuous tenses, the present participle forms of verbs are accompanied by the finite verbs am, is, or are as per the subjects and their number or person. Let us examine some sentences in present continuous tense. In these sentences, present participles function as the main verb and the auxiliary verb act as the finite verbs. I am managing one office. He is managing two offices at a time. We are managing three offices. Here, managing is the non-finite used in all three sentences. It is a present participle. It is not limited to any tense, subject, number or person. However, am, is and are limited to the tense, subject, number or person to which they stand for. So they are finite verbs. Look at these sentences in past continuous tense. Ramesh was singing loudly. They were singing in a lower voice. Here, singing is the present participle commonly used in both sentences. It is not bound to any subject. The finite verbs which determine the tenses are was and were. Let us see two sentences in future continuous tense. I shall be assisting him to complete the project. You will be assisting me to complete the project. Here, the non-finite verb assisting is present participle. It is not dependent on any subject, number, person or tense. The finite verb is shall and will. Be also is a non-finite. It is bare infinitive. In the same manner, we use non-finite verb present participle in all the three perfect continuous tenses also. For example, the teacher has been teaching for 3 hours. We have been watching this film since 1 p.m. The birds had been chirping on the tree for several hours. The bus will have been reaching Nagpur by this time tomorrow. In these sentences, teaching, watching, chirping and reaching are non-finite verbs. They are present participle and can be used anywhere without limited to any tense, subject, person or number. Been is a non-finite. It is the past participle of be. The finite verbs are has, have, had and will have respectively, which agree with the subjects as per their number and person. They also determine the tense of the sentences. Let us see how the participle function as nouns and adjectives. Leaning out of a moving bus is dangerous. Leaning and moving are non-finite verbs. They are present participles. Leaning takes the place of a noun as the subject of the sentence and moving acts as an adjective of bus. Here, is the finite verb which determines the tense limited to the subject and its number. I have just found a man bleeding and lying on the road after an accident. Here, bleeding and lying are the present participle and thus non-finite verbs. Found is also a non-finite verb. It is in past participle form. Have is the finite verb. Now, let us discuss past participle forms of non-finite verbs. All the 3 perfect tenses in active voice and all the 8 tenses of passive voice are having past participle as the main verbs. They are non-finite verbs. Let us see a few examples. We have taken all the precautions to control the pandemic situation. It is an active voice in present perfect tense. Here, taken is past participle form and it is a non-finite verb. To control is also a non-finite. It is an infinitive. Have is the finite verb in this sentence. The tourists are directed not to visit the seashore during heavy rains. Most of the children were being awarded. My finger had been cut twice. These sentences are in passive voice. Here, directed, awarded and cut are non-finite verbs. They are in past participle form. Being and been are also participles. Are, were and had are the finite verbs which determine the tense, number and person of the subjects. Now, let us see how the past participles take the role of adjective and adverb. Study these sentences. They roasted chestnuts because roasted chestnuts were profitable. Here, the verb roasted is repeated 2 times. However, both of their roles are different. The first roasted is in past form of verb and is a finite verb as it determines the tense and agrees to the subject. The second roasted is modifying the noun chestnuts. It is a non-finite verb. It is past participle form being the adjective of chestnuts. She found her pen broken into pieces. Here, broken is past participle and non-finite verb. It acts as the adverb of found. The verb found is in the past form of verb and it is the finite verb of the sentence. Serve the cooked food immediately. Here, cooked is the non-finite verb. It is a past participle. Serve is the finite verb. Finally, let us learn about the division of verbs. Verbs are divided into transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. A transitive verb is a verb that can take a direct object. In other words, the action of a transitive verb is done to someone or something. Most verbs are transitive. In Hindi we say sakarmak kriya. In Malayalam, sakarmaka kriya means kriya जिसके साथ कर्म है എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ കർമ്മം ഉള്ള ക്രിയ. Whereas an intransitive verb cannot have an object. In Hindi we say akarmak kriya means क्रिया जिसके साथ कोई कर्म नहीं है. In Malayalam akarmaka kriya എന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ കർമ്മമില്ലാത്ത ക്രിയ. Only transitive verbs can have a passive form. Passive voice construction is not possible with intransitive verbs. Study this list of transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive: take, make, love, arrange. Intransitive: come, run, sleep, arrive. There is an easy method to know if a verb is transitive or intransitive. If you can add something or somebody with a verb, it is a transitive verb. If you cannot add something or somebody to the given verb, it is an intransitive verb. Let us apply this method with the above listed verbs. Can you take something or somebody? Yes, you can take an apple or your friend. Here, take is a transitive verb having its object as apple or friend. Can you come somebody or something? There is no answer. It looks odd answer. Hence, come is an intransitive verb. Can you make something or somebody? Yes, we can make a drawing. So, make is a transitive verb. Its object is drawing. Can you run somebody or something? No, there is no answer to it. So, run is an intransitive verb if it is the meaning of running with legs. However, run can be a transitive verb if you mean to run a shop or an institution. Let us distinguish them with two examples. Raghav runs very fast. Here it is the action of running, so run is an intransitive verb. Raghav runs a business. Here it is an action of functioning, so run is a transitive verb. Its object is business. Can you love somebody or something? Yes, you can love your child or your pet animal. So love is a transitive verb. The objects of love are child and pet animal. Can you sleep somebody or something? No, you cannot sleep somebody or something. Hence, sleep is an intransitive verb. Can you arrange somebody or something? Yes, you can arrange a party. So, party can be the object of the verb arrange. Hence, it is a transitive verb. Can you arrive somebody or something? No, you cannot arrive somebody or something. Hence, arrive is an intransitive verb. However, there are some intransitive verbs which can be transitive with different meanings when it can have an object.